Thank you all for coming today. What we wanted to do was simply have a visit with a couple of mediums and see what the deal is, see what their lives are like, and where it all comes from, and what their secrets are. That's what you came for, right? And so it's sure good to have you here. It's also the first time that Andrea, in doing this for 8 years, she started this whole thing, this big thing, in 2009, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Last year we had nearly 700 people come, and remember, you were here with with all the little booths, and that's what we had. 700 people come through over the course of about 10 hours over 2 days. So we're spreading out this year to see how it is. And spreading out means that we get this nice room to be able to have a visit here. So this is a pretty good deal. So let's get going. I want you to meet everybody. Just real quick, my name is Ian Byington. I do an online directory and news piece called The Spirit of Victoria. Now, for all of us, we have our stuff over here. So on your way out, please pick up Linda and Nicole's cards on your way out. And there's also some of Linda's books. And you want that. You want that. So take it with you. So I'm here as the host for today. And I've got with me, and I'm going to do this a little bit just so we can get used to the mic sound of it. I've got Linda Pynaker, who came down from Shawnigan today. And I've also got Nicole Powell. Now, I could tell you a little bit about them, but I think I'd really rather hear from them. Nicole, when did you start figuring out that you're a medium?
Yeah, I'm a medium.
Oh, good. Because if you weren't, we'd have to read and change the whole thing. And when did you find out that you were sensitive enough to be getting information from other places?
Well, I was definitely born this way, and from a very small child, I was always very aware of the spirit world around me. When I was about 19, my best friend died, and she used to come visit me when I was sleeping. And I used to tell her, you know, if you're real, I really need you to tell me and prove it to me, because I feel like I'm just going crazy. And so what she would do is she would move things around the house. And one time when I was sleeping, she picked up my bed sheets and threw me right off the bed where I flew onto the floor. And I remember my mom came in and she said, "What happened?" And I said, "Mary just threw me on the floor." And she says, "That wasn't a dream." So I knew from there that it was definitely coming stronger. And when I started doing energy work when I was 23, I noticed that every time I tapped into that type of energy, or that life force energy, the table would fill with guides, guards, and angels, as well as people's loved ones around. And it was through that I developed my communication. And from giving evidence, it became stronger and stronger and more apparent that it was actually quite real.
Well, and we're going to talk more about how you talk with those folks as we go along here.
Yeah.
Linda Pynaker. Linda, you've been working a little bit longer than Nicole has at this stuff, but when did you find out you
I was a medium?
Yeah.
Well, I've always been intuitive, but I wasn't really, that into it. It was more a game for me until I was in my early 40s, 62 now. And I, out of curiosity, went to some clairvoyant training. Within weeks, I knew my strength was communicating with spirits. And I was noticing that when I shared healing energy with people, that I could see their auras, and I was getting intuitive messages, and I could feel their loved ones and get messages from them. And I also found out right early on in my clairvoyant training that the book that I had just finished writing, my first book, that had been channeled to me by my maternal grandmother and my husband at the time, maternal grandmother. So I guess you could say around the early 40s there.
And you've been working about 20 years now?
No, almost. I started out by doing volunteer work at a healing center where I gave readings for free until I had enough confidence, and then I started doing it professionally. So it's been quite a while.
And you've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, lots. I've been doing this full time since I was in my mid-40s.
I think most of us who are not mediums, not talking about you, I'm talking about me, maybe you are. I don't see spirits. I don't see auras. I think I can feel a little bit of energy sometimes, but I just don't. That's why I need friends who do to tell me what I think I'm feeling and that sort of thing. But when did you, gosh, was it scary? I'll start with Nicole. Was it scary to find out that you were in touch with other beings, other forces?
No, actually, I haven't really believed it. I think it's common to feel a little bit lonely or a sense of wondering why I'm here. Like I feel like I came here on a mission. And when the information started to be validated to me that these were actually people's loved ones and I was telling the story of who they were, I actually felt so relieved. It was like, oh, finally, like I can do this and they can say, yes, that's them. I can provide the message and then I can move on. Because before that, it was just like they would just kind of follow me around, like wherever I go, it'd be like a little entourage with me, and I'd be like, what am I supposed to do with you?
Got a little posse there.
Yeah.
Did you, was it scary at first?
I was never afraid of it. To me, it was really, really exciting. And right from the very first moment that I realized that those two grandmothers helped me write that book, I mean, the next day when I was meditating, there they were, sitting in two little chairs in front of me, and they came to me every day for months and helped me write my next book, too. And I just got to know more and more and more of them, and to me, it's just been really exciting. I love it. It's my passion.
And there hasn't been any, I don't know, dark energy that came, or somebody who was on the other side who you thought was going to do somebody harm or you harm, or?
Yeah, actually, when I'd already been doing it for, I don't know, maybe professionally for a couple of years. I met my first dark entity, first entity that gone to dark instead of light, and yeah, that was very, very scary. It was horrible, and it was really hard to get rid of them. But I think I was meant to experience that because since then I've been able to help a lot of people keep dark entities out of their life, and I just think that's important. So yeah.
And both of you have talked to me at times about getting rid of entities or energy that doesn't serve you, you don't want. How do you, I mean, magic, I've seen Harry Potter. I know how this works.
How do I get rid of them?
Yeah.
Well, the way I teach people, and this is what worked for me, is I tell them, you have to give that entity the minimum of attention. If they're successful in getting you fearful, if they're successful in getting you upset, that's power for them, and they're just mischief makers, and that's all they want. So you have to make sure that you give them the minimum of attention, tell them to go away, go about your path, let me go about mine. And for some people, it's helpful to light white candles or wear a cross. You can do a number of rituals. What do you do, Nicole?
I actually don't really believe in it. I'm going to say it and be honest. I believe that whatever energy I bring into my world, and I work with light energy all the time, that's what I attract back to me. So I feel as long as I vibrate that higher vibration of light, as well as only accept that into my life, that's all I'm ever able to have mirrored back to me, reflected back to me as well.
What would you do, though, if you had a client come to you who has a dark entity? Because what I've noticed is the way they pick them up is by going somewhere where there is lower vibrational energy, like say they go somewhere where someone's using drugs or doing something illegal. What would you do then?
Well, I would take that more as just like negative energy, of feeling like that's kind of, carrying around negative energy. And I would work more with like maybe salt, having a salt, Epsom salts bath, smudging, calling in Archangel Michael, working with things that way. And just keeping your energy and aura clear, and as well as positive intentions, as well as keeping that in your life all the time.
That sounds good. Done that too, that sounds good.
Now, both of you, I've had readings with both of you, and I know a lot of people, and I've seen you do the presentation over at the meetup group in Langford.
An evening with spirit?
Yeah, an evening with spirit for 2 hours, just picking out people from the audience and talking to the folks around them. But you touched on something, Nicole. How do you, both of you, when you do readings, do a validation thing? I don't even know what to call it, but something with me, you were telling me things that I could identify as, yep, that really is so-and-so.
So like evidential information.
Yeah, so what is validating? How much do you feel like you need to feel like it's valid, and what do you try and offer people you work with that?
Well, I like to think as a mediumship reading is more of a three-way call. So it's like from spirit to spirit to spirit. And so when they come and connect with me, they will impression onto me what it is, the information that they want their sitter or their loved one to receive. And so thinking of it like a three-way call, because if we were on the phone, I need to hear your voice as well. So when I'm saying, I got your dad here, yes, he's telling me that he was quite a loving, kind, gentle man. yes, this just encourages the conversation as well as opens the floodgates. And so by them kind of validating or confirming that that information is correct, it allows the information to start growing as well as intensify so the vibrations go up and the connection gets stronger as well.
It seems like that's a pretty necessary part.
I think it's vital, and I don't believe that I could do a mediumship reading if someone's just sitting there with their arms crossed, not saying a word, because they're cutting off that flow. And because their loved one is working so hard to be able to make that connection with you, that they need me as a medium in the middle to be able to kind of let that flow continue to circulate and go around.
Yeah. Could you speak to that?
Oh, I was just thinking that, yeah, I mean, it's so essential because there's really no point in passing on messages to someone who isn't convinced that you're connecting with their loved ones. So you need the evidential information for that. And because they give the validation, they're kind of involved in it, and then it makes it easier for you to feel confident and continue. So like Nicole said, it's that flow of energy. So if you can, let people know information from your loved one that couldn't be from anyone else, or there's a perfect description of them, it's really going to make it go much more positively, that's for sure.
I know that happened with me once. Somebody was saying, your grandmother, and told me a bunch of stuff that didn't exactly sound like my grandmother. And then she said, well, the one with the red hair. I mean, how many grandmothers have red hair, right? Especially when they're over 90. But she was the one with the red hair. It was, it's the other grandmother that changed everything. So the validating part, the little bit of information that's shared so that it can be validated, seems pretty important.
It's very important, and it's also really important if the information that I'm giving to you is not correct. Because if you say no, that means I go back to the spirit world and say, can you please give me, what are you actually trying to tell me? Because think of how often when we talk to people, we miscommunicate what they say. So if they're just saying yeah, and it's not true, then I'm, misinterpreting what spirit's actually trying to say. So you're doing me a favor by validating as well if it's yes or no or I'm not sure, so I could get stronger in my mediumship so I could provide better messages. I mean, think of it how easy it is, example of they're showing me their hand and it may look like a weathered, torn hand. I'm like, I know he had weathered, torn hands. And they're like, no. And then I hear them say, no, I had working hands. And so then I come back and go, you had working hands. And they go, oh yeah, that's right. And so it's learning that language between the two of us because it can take a really long time to really develop this to the level that I potentially want to reach for. And I believe it just keeps getting stronger, just like learning a second language is as well.
Yeah, sometimes we have to do a certain amount of interpretation. We try to do a minimum, but sometimes you have to interpret what you see or hear or smell or feel or taste. And sometimes that interpretation can make it so that it's not identifiable anymore by that person that's having you speak to their loved one. So it is, that validation is absolutely essential just so you make sure you're on the right track.
What do you do when your interpretation that you just mentioned just isn't working? And then what do you do?
Then I try to tune a little better and just be a little more clear. Like I remember that instead of saying, I can't remember what the example you gave, it was a pretty good one, but instead of giving that interpretation, instead just say, well, I'm looking at hands that look like blah, 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 and then they will have the interpretation that fits. They'll say, oh, you mean, and then you get your validation. Or, like I could hear a bell ringing with a couple of sisters that I had come to me the other day, and I said, what is it with the bell that I hear ringing? And they looked at me blankly and I said, well, I can see it's got a handle, it's a little bell that's going like this. Once I described exactly what I saw instead of just an interpretation, they said, oh, that's what my grandmother left for me after she passed on. I've got it on my fireplace at home. So just being more clear. Sometimes it's about giving less information instead of more.
Yeah, exactly. Less is more.
Yeah.
Because the interpretation that you put on
misled them, right?
And the other thing I want to mention about that too is if I meet someone who's very shy and hard to communicate with, they're going to be the same in the spirit world, right? So if someone were to come to me that's like very outgoing, has a huge sense of character, was really, really confident who they were, that's going to come through in the reading too. So I'm going to have that impression onto me. But if you're a difficult person in life, you're going to be interpreted as a difficult. So I may look awkward or get really weird or shy because they're impressioning that onto me, and that's going to come right through in the reading too.
Yeah, like I find people who tend to be quite reserved on this world. When they're on the other side, they're still somewhat reserved. So sometimes I have to talk to them a little more to get them to come a little bit closer so I can see them a little better, because they might not really be wanting to show themselves to me. And the example I give of that is the difference between cats and dogs. Dogs are right in your face when you're reading. I've never seen a dog be shy, but cats sometimes are kind of hiding behind stuff. And so I just have to talk to them and say, please show yourself to me. I need to show your owner that it's really you. And then they'll come out and show themselves. So yeah, that personality, it still comes through.
Dogs always jump right on my lap. I'm like, oh, I got a dog here.
For sure.
I think one of the things that a lot of people wonder about is as somebody crosses over, do they, if they're shy, they're shy, okay. But what if they've got Alzheimer's? What if they've got a real meanness on this side, and we find out later that they've got a lot of physical pain that they're dealing with. What happens when they cross over with that?
Well, definitely that gets lifted off of them, for sure, definitely. But if they were to come through in a reading and they knew that their loved one would remember them as someone who had dementia or had a lot of pain in their body, that's exactly the evidence they'll want to bring through to their loved ones to know that that's who they really are. So, for example, I know when a spirit is trying to communicate with me and they had dementia, all of a sudden I'll get really dizzy and I'll go like this, and I'll get the sense that I'm forgetful. And the second I name it or call it, it disappears. Because it's like, oh, she got it, next one. And so it can happen really, really fast like that. And same, like the other day, I had a client whose loved one had bone cancer, and all of a sudden all my bones ached at once. And so I just said, I feel like she had achy bones from head to toe. And she goes, yes, and then it was gone. And so it is strong, the impressions they put onto me, but sometimes they have to be really intense, really, really fast, just so I can get that hit so that they can move on to the next piece of evidence as well.
And one thing that's really important is, you may have, say, a father who's extremely abusive, a tyrant or whatever, but when we pass on, we go through a life review, and we see everything we've done and how it's affected everybody. So on the other side, it's just all about unconditional love, forgiveness, no longer being critical or judgmental. And so that father might show us that he might even say I was an asshole, but he's going to be all about apology and wanting to apologize for what he did and letting you know that it wasn't your fault, that it had more to do with him than did you, sort of thing. So even though they can show us that they were mean, they also let us know that now they're a very loving spirit. So it's a really good time for some healing for the person.
And that's also what I love about mediumship. Like, some people ask me, like, why do you do it? And it says, I'm not just doing it for this world, I'm doing it for them too. Because their soul needs to evolve as well. And if they know that their daughter is hurting here on this world, and that they could come through and find a medium and ask for that forgiveness, they can continue to grow, their daughter continue to grow as well. So I really feel that I'm, just as much for them as it is for everyone here too.
Yeah, like I always call the work we do messages of hope and healing.
Hope and healing.
That's what we're all about.
Both of you are healers, and is that, what is it that heals people that are here about talking to people on the other side? What is it that creates that chance for that?
To me, there's a couple of things. One is becoming aware that their loved one is present in their life. That really helps them with the grieving process and helps them to feel so much more reassured. Because so many people worry that their loved ones are suffering. They don't realize that their loved ones are happy, that they don't have bodies, they're no longer in pain, they're in energy that can show us what they look like in a body, but they're not trapped in that body anymore. And also there's the healing around things that happen, like people who feel bad because they weren't there when they passed, and finding out that it's okay, that their loved one has forgiven them for that, and that it wasn't an issue. So it can be both sides around. Either the relationship is complicated, or there's some things that they need some forgiveness for, or else about the other that I've forgotten myself.
It sounds like it boils down to forgiveness.
Yeah, it's just so important. I mean, how are people going to get that otherwise? And some people are so intuitive, they kind of work it out with the spirit on their own, but that's not the majority. And so it's just so important.
And I think for me, what I notice with the clients who see me is they're just longing for that connection. And when I started with energy work about 8 to 9 years ago, and when you could get that connection, that life force energy kind of flowing through them, it's almost like the tear would come or they'd feel full for like the first time in a long time. But with mediumship, you have the power of being able to do that just in a matter of a few seconds, just helping them feel connected to their loved ones. And I think that's just like the biggest healing on its own.
Mm-hmm. an incredible gift for them too.
Incredible gift, yeah.
Let's switch a little bit here. Most of us have, well, most of me, I'm not going to speak for all of us because I'm not sure. Again, just nod a lot if I say things that are right. I assume that because I've seen a lot of TV shows, or I used to when I watched TV, and movies where the spirit shows up and it looks just like, you know, I knew him when he was alive, and he talks to me, and I can hear his voice. Everything's absolute, you know, I've seen TV. In real life, that's why we have you here, because we're talking real life instead of TV. What do you, and I know that every medium is different, but what do you see, what do you feel, what do you hear? And for your own self, how do you validate that that's really...
That's real, I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
Because yeah, in the beginning, it really can feel like you're making it up. I mean, I have a couple of ways of validating stuff. Like, for example, you know, I use all my senses to get information. And a spirit might give me a taste of pipe to let me know that he smoked his pipe when he was in his life. Or they might give me a taste to let me know what their favorite food was. They might give me a feeling in terms of their personality and who they were. You know, there's just a whole gamut in terms of what they can do. And I like to get validation from the person, but also sometimes I will check with myself. I'll use my intuition and say, you know, if I'm not sure, like when that the woman brought me the bell ringing, I asked her, I said, are you showing me a bell ringing? Or one the other day was mind-blowing to me. This guy told me that he would bring her mints. That was going to be his sign that he was present in her life. And so I'm asking him intuitively while I'm still talking with her, are you telling me that you're going to bring her mints? I thought he said yes. I said, you mean like mint candies? He says, yeah. Okay, I'll get brave, I'll say it. So I said, he's telling me he's going to bring you mints. And she says, I just hate them. She says, he always had mints, and he left some behind for me. And she says, I just had one every day just because of the memory. But she says, I just finished them. I said, well, he's going to bring you more. You know?
And I know for me, when I'm working on a mediumship level, I ask spirit to draw so close. So it's almost like a vibrational shift that happens. And I look down to see what I'm wearing. I just see my big, my slim, and my small, what kind of pants am I wearing, a skirt, a dress. And so I really invite spirit to blend with me so close that I become them. And that I just let them tell me who they are.
Would you call that channeling?
No, I wouldn't. I'd call that blending. No, I think channeling's a little bit different. Blending more, it's like when I'm working on a mediumship level, it's like come with me, come close, show me who you are, tell me your story, and let's work through this together. I feel like channeling's a little bit different because I feel like they'd be using my voice box to just say what they need to say.
And have you had that experience?
Yes, this year specifically, I started working more in trance as well as channeling. And when I was at Arthur Findlay this year for 2 weeks in September and October.
I'm sorry, can you tell everybody what Arthur Findlay is, just in case?
Sure. Arthur Findlay College is the School of Psychic Science in the UK, England. It's the #1 mediumship school in the world. And I like to go there to study and advance my training as well. And this year, I specifically worked more in the trance states and the altered states. And that's more where I'm starting to work in more now, and I'm starting to get more and more comfortable with it as well.
If you were distinguishing the difference between channeling, obviously a spirit, and the blending, what is it? Is it just two different ways to do something? Or?
Well, mediumship, working more evidentially, I consider it more active mediumship or mental mediumship because they're using my mind and my senses to be able to interpret what they're saying. When I'm working on the trance level, I'm moving into that altered state so that I'm moving out of the way so that spirit can come through, and I'm just basically, just resting in the back and just letting them speak right through me. Yeah, and it definitely, in active mediumship, I start to expand out, I get really, really hyper, and in trance, I go right down, I kind of blend until I almost disappear, and then just they move through. Yeah, it's quite powerful.
Yeah, and you might still be active, but that's when that spirit's very active.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's almost like they become part of you.
Yeah.
You feel like them. You feel like you are them.
Linda, you've used trance as part of your practice.
Yeah, actually Nicole came back from Arthur Findlay back in, no, you took a class in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Way back, I think it was April, May, was it?
Yeah, I think last April.
Yeah, okay, so she came back and she asked me if I wanted to try it, and she walked me through it, and I did. So since then, I've been practicing doing trance almost every day, either at home on my own with my spirit guides, or more recently with Love with the Spirit, and doing it more and more. Like now, whenever clients come, if they want me to go into trance with their spirit guides or with their loved ones who have passed on, then I definitely do that. And I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a wonderful way to give messages.
Can you describe a little bit more what that's like?
Well, for me, the most important thing is you have to be so relaxed. Like Nicole said, you just have to really sort of go into yourself and just really become very relaxed. And just relax enough for them to be able to use your vocal cords and speak through you. But you need to really feel them. You need to feel like you are them before you do that. So it really requires a lot of relaxation.
You've talked to a lot of folks on the other side. Do you have a sense of, and I think we're curious about this, what's it like over there? I mean, you know, you die with this body, you set it aside, spirit lives on. And then what?
The energy over there is absolutely incredible. I had asked one of my spirit guides once, I said, do you ever choose to be in the dark at night and cloudy or whatever? She says, no. I said, do you ever choose to be in the rain with lots of clouds where everything's all sort of dark and cloudy? No. And then she just showed me this incredible vista of energy, and she said, why would I? Like, wow. I mean, like, it was so incredible, I can't describe it. And of course, that was years ago, and since then, when I meditate, I quite often go to the astral plane, and if you do meditate on, you experience that. That's what the other side's like. The energy is absolutely beautiful, incredible. It's indescribable.
Yeah, just pure bliss.
Yeah, perfect word.
Because it's like I expand out, I have no more human body, I don't feel hot or cold, I don't feel pain. And it's just like anywhere I put my conscious to, it can take me there too. And a really good book would be Anita Marjani's Dying to Be Me. She describes the afterworld really beautifully in there as well.
When you have a reading with somebody, you've got somebody you're working with, how do you, and I'm not going to use the right words necessarily, so fix whatever I say. How do you call in whoever they're interested in? You know, they want to talk to their mother, they want to talk to their husband, they want to talk to their kid who died. You know, how do you make that, how do you place that call?
I just ask the person for their loved one's first name and what the relationship is. So she might say, it's my father, his name is John, and then I just tune into John. I just ask him to come to me, and then I pass on that evidential information and then the messages.
And what I do, because Linda and I were such good friends, but we work differently, and that's what's amazing about us is because we're individuals. But for me, I believe that the spirit world chose me to represent them in spirit. So I believe that they bring the person in front of me, whoever needs to make that contact. So before they arrive, I just ask that their loved ones start to draw close. And when they come, I don't want to know anything. I just want to start talking. And I might bring them their grandmother, their friend, their mother, and just allow those people to start coming through and give as much evidence as they can. And near the end, if there's someone that they really wanted to contact that maybe that didn't show up, I can throw that attention up there. And if they choose to come and allow me to represent them, then I give them their permission to do so. Yeah.
What are they doing over there?
Well, there's no time or space.
I don't know. Sometimes they talk to me about missions that they're doing or working on peace missions in the world. Sometimes they're spirit guides who are helping us with our purpose or whatever challenges that we have. I don't know. Sometimes it's not real clear to me. Sometimes they'll tell me what they're doing, but other times it's not real clear. What do you get, Nicole?
I'm always shocked how much they're here trying to help us evolve.
Yeah.
It's frequent. Tell Mom I'm here all the time. Tell her I saw her when she was at the store buying shampoo. Tell her I saw her when she was buying those apples yesterday. It's just like there's so much of just wanting to be with you and making sure that you're making the best life choices while you're here as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, because it's incredible how they can be with us, spend so much time with us. They can be in more than one place at once. So like your sister and brother can say, well, it couldn't have been with you because she was with me. But yeah, she could. But so many people ask me, do they work over there? And sometimes I will get that they do. But yeah, I don't think it's real clear what some of them are doing.
Yeah, sometimes if someone was like a great builder in life, they'll come through and be like, tell them I built the most beautiful house here. Or I'm smoking all I want now. And it's just like, because they'll come in with like a cloud of smoke.
I had one girl who asked me to get her grandmother, and the first thing that I got from her was a message. Tell her I can't come, I'm busy playing bridge. And that just reduced her tears because she was always playing bridge on this side.
So true.
Yeah.
Like whatever they love doing here, it almost like they can exemplify it over there. And they kind of usually come through with humor about it as well, which is fun.
When you're talking, I was going to phrase it. How do you mentioned they're there for trying to help us.
Yeah.
They're there trying to give us a sense of what's going on. What's the difference between connecting with that sort of energy, that sort of person, and a spirit guide? Are these folks spirit guides?
Not always, sometimes. I don't get it very often, actually, where a spirit will come through and be like, tell them that I'm now their spirit guide. That sometimes happens, but not all the times. I find guides, and maybe Linda's better to answer this because she's just like the pro with guides over here. But yeah, it's almost like they're assigned to us for certain life tasks as well. Like some of them are assigned to us at birth, some are assigned to us in our career or love life and stuff like that. So they're literally there to help guide us through that as well. And I do find when I'm working with spirit guides opposed to love with spirit, there's a different energy. It's a very, very high vibration, and it almost like makes me sit back a bit because it's so bright as they usually come in. What do you experience?
I think the energy is quite different too. Now, there's no doubt about it that some of our spirit guides can be our loved ones who passed on. Like I know that my stepfather is a spirit guide for my niece. And I've had loved ones who've been spirit guides for me at some point. They do change over time depending what you're working on and what their strengths are. But it's like what you're going to do when you're communicating with loved one spirit is so different from what you're going to do communicating with spirit guide. I mean, typically the spirit guide, you want to know, who they are, what they look like, what past life you shared with them, what their purpose is, any message you want to pass on. Whereas the loved ones, it's really all about the connection with the loved one and all the reassurance in that. Spirit guides, it's not as emotional.
No, they usually kind of whip you into shape. They're like, come on, let's go.
How come
you're not asking me for help? I can right here. Yeah. And they have good senses of humor, too.
Now, most of us have had dreams, and we've connected, or we feel like we've got people we know who are on the other side in our dreams. Is there a way, clues to look for as to whether it's just imagination and I made it up, or they're really trying to contact us? Is there a way, could you suggest
Yeah,
that?
I love this question because it was such a big story for me personally. And the way I can best describe it is when it's a dream, I have a hard time remembering. And it's like as I'm telling, I'm forgetting. When it's like really a loved one or like a very strong message for me, I remember it like as clear as if I'm awake. And I can remember it with detail, and I can tell the story over and over and over again, and I never forget it. And 10, 20 years later, I can still talk about it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, the other difference is that when it's actually a visit, I mean, a dream is just something you dreamt about. A visit is like you feel like you could feel them, breathe them, smell them. And then when you wake up, you're surprised they're not still there. To me, that's a visit.
Okay, so that level of vividness.
Yeah, it's more intense.
Now, some people call that lucid dreaming because you actually can participate. Is that kind of the same? Or who cares what people call it?
I don't
That's
know.
the
I
way-
don't know.
I usually find when I'm dreaming of a loved one in spirit or having like a really strong piece of spiritual guidance given to me, it's usually at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because I'll wake up right afterwards and be like, oh, okay, gotta remember that. Yeah.
See, for me, it's between 4 o'clock and 4:30. That's when my spirit guides are coming. That's when I'm going to have the visits, yeah. They pick a time.
You mentioned Anita Morjani. What role does near-death experiences have in your understanding of kind of how this works?
I know for myself, because there was 2 situations where I've had close calls. One when I was being put under and I saw the light and I was traveling at the speed of light. And the other time when I was very, very ill and an angel visited me and asked me if I wanted to stay or go. I choose life. But I really believe that near-death experiences happen to us to awaken us, because I do feel when they happen, we're given a choice if we want to stay. And so I know for myself, each time that happened, my life greatly transformed instantaneously. And it almost put me back on purpose and back on track, as well as helped me feel even more connected than I ever have before.
So it was an affirmation.
Yeah, definitely affirmation. And they talk about like the shamanic death or like the near-death experience of getting struck by lightning. And I really believe for mediumship that you cannot force that connection to happen. It's through awakenings that this spirit world comes closer as well.
Yeah, I've never had a near-death experience, and the word I would use to describe it was awakening, so I thought your description was perfect. But I know nothing.
If you, this kind of puts you on the spot, if somebody said, why should I get a reading with a medium? And you had to, whatever it is, write that commercial, I don't know. But forget about commercials and stuff. To operate in an authentic sense of why it's a good idea to get a visit with a medium, what would you say?
I would say that because not everybody would want it, if you have someone that you really, up from the other side, who you really want to connect with, either for healing or for the forgiveness or just for some hopefulness, then it's a good idea to see a medium, because we're the ones that are going to help you make that connection and allow you to ask the questions you want to ask and get the messages that you need.
And for me, I feel like it's a call to see a medium, because I believe it's them wanting to make contact with you, right? So I feel that they would almost start to make you feel like you need to see a medium. And I'd say 99% of the time, when someone's sitting in front of me and I go, what brought you here? They're like, I don't know, I got your name from a friend of a friend, so-and-so said this, that, and I don't want you here, I don't know you, I don't know if I want to do this. And I go, well, I can feel their loved ones impressioning on me so strongly, so close, that I knew that they brought them there that day. And I have to say, it's the least amount of marketing I've ever done when I started working as a medium.
Yeah,
people would just show up out of nowhere.
If I had $1 for everyone that said, I've been driving by your sign for years and I just finally felt like I was supposed to come in. Yeah, your mother's pushing you from behind.
Yes.
To come do the signs. What we wanted to do was to, unlike a lot of the other presentations that go right up until the last minute, what we wanted to do was to end a little bit early. It's about 1:45, almost 10 till, and give you a chance not to ask questions as a group, just because everybody, who knows where that would go. But Linda and Nicole have their stuff over here. Please don't leave without picking up their at least business cards, so you can look up their web pages and get a little bit more of their story and a little bit more of what's going on. And we'll be hanging around over here until the next presentation is about ready to go. On behalf of Linda and Nicole, thank you so much for coming today and hanging out with us.